There is no doubt that Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa, but the issue with too much population is that it welcomes poverty. So from dirty slums to places that make you wonder how people live there, let's look at the top 10 poorest places in Nigeria. Kicking off our list is Ijesha-Tedo or Atire, a slum located in Surulere, Lagos. And just a single visit to this community would give you a negative view about the livelihood of inhabitants, and you might get sick, but most of the residents have been living there for most of their lives, so it might just be that they are used to it. Bounded by canals and expressways, the community faces a very terrible living condition and limited access to essential services like roads or even good water, as residents mostly use the water from the canals, with exception to a very few pipe-borne water, which can serve the last population of over 1 million inhabitants. And as you might have guessed, the life expectancy there is relatively low, considering the fact that most of the population who are working only work for the daily bread and continue the next day. Next up at number 9, we are going far away north to Mbera, a ghetto in Sokoto state. Poor infrastructure and planning has seen the community make it into this list. You see, for more than 2 decades now, the people have lived in fear of flooding, which disrupts socio-economic activities during the rainy season. And of course, it brings poverty on its over 200,000 residents. With this recurring natural disaster every year and no corrective measures in place, it's not surprising that the community lacks any form of external investment or business. I mean, who would want to set up shop and watch it wash away when there is a heavy downpour? The living standard is one of the lowest, and in a state that isn't the big name in terms of revenue generation, we can't be sure that any solution will come anytime soon. The population of Mbera keeps decreasing every passing year, but for those who have nowhere to go, they can only watch and encounter the problem all over again. Going back to Lagos State from our number 8, as we enter Ijale Otumara, a neglected community or forgotten community, whichever way you want to describe the situation there. Access to safe water and sanitation remains a distant dream for its nearly 1 million residents. Overcrowded living conditions and inadequate facility just shows the daily struggle faced by its inhabitants. Each household has an average of 5 persons in a room, while others could number up to 10 or more in some cases. But they all lack access to good toilet facilities and sanitation. For decades, they struggle to run a primary health care facility in the community. They all practice open defecation, except for very few homes built at the entrance of the slum. Those who still prefer to use a toilet would have to do it at a cost, which also depends on the sanitary level of the latrine. Residents defecate in a makeshift toilet constructed with planks on a canal, and of course they are highly vulnerable to toilet diseases. At number 7, we have got Okoko in southeastern Nigeria, a community which may be described as the poorest of that region. Back in 2020, a journalist journeying to Okoko to cover a political event reported how he encountered a sprawling slum grappling with poverty and societal decay. With a population of over 1 million, the community, aside being a den for street gangs, is also known to be the hands of poverty. Portable water, livable homes are all lacking in the slum. Families, and I'm talking about parents, children, and sometimes extended families, all live in one-room makeshift houses, usually made with either wood or tarpaulin, or wood and corrugated roofing sheets. Yeah, those very people who are lucky to live in brick houses live in very dilapidated ones. White toilets attached to them are far away from the compound, and more often than not, they are meant for children, while adults only have the privilege of going to toilets only very early in the morning before daybreak or at night in drainage and canals. Besides the living condition of the people in the area and the high number of troublemakers in the area, Okoko is also notorious for producing fake products known to be in high demand in the market, such as juice, soft drinks, and some brands of wines. Products are mostly not only fake, but usually concocted in very unhygienic environments, not fit for living, let alone producing food products. Going back to Lagos for number 6, and it is Amukoko, a community within the city of Lagos, and life there is not even close to be called average, let alone good. In Amukoko, there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of issues, for annual floods, to terrible roads, to pothole-ridden streets, and overgrown drainage, which is proof of the neglect and hardship endured by the community. All the roads in the densely populated suburb have completely collapsed, turning into a potential death trap. Also, their drainages are blocked, which has exposed residents to the devastating effect of flood during the rainy season and diseases during the dry seasons. Of course, the rate of poverty in such area is expected to be high. This means that the rate of criminal activities is also on a high level. Before we move further, if you have still not subscribed, kindly hit the subscribe button and like this video. Entering our top 5 now, and still staying with Lagos, we enter into Shomolu or Shomolu as the indigenes call it, a residential suburb located in the north of Lagos. And unlike other communities in this list, the community is actually productive with residents engaging in serious local activities including working leather, handicrafts and printing, which is one of Nigeria's biggest printing zones. But despite this good side, the harsh reality is that the community is overcrowded, and with overcrowding comes inadequate sanitation, which has affected this residential suburb. The population was at 400,000 during the last population in 2006, and doing the maths correctly, the population would be sitting at over 1.5 million people almost 2 decades later. You can imagine how that has affected the community. Jobs are few as the printing industry can only take employees according to their resources, and as such the crime rate is on the high, in fact ranking in the top 5 in Lagos State. At number 4 we have got Agege, a popular suburb also in Lagos. It is well known for its Agege bread, a very soft kind of bread, but the living condition there is far from soft. Although there are some industries there, they also face the issue of overpopulation, which has suffocated the available resources. With approximately 700,000 people living there, there's little or no room for everyone, and some regions in the community faces this issue. The living condition might not be the worst, but it is still bad that the community was listed as one of the critical slums in Lagos before the government started to put in little effort to the industry sector, which has at least given some people a job. But the working population is relatively little compared to the overall population, which makes the poverty level high. Next up is another popular community in Lagos, AJCT, Ajegunle, a bustling community with over 500,000 residents from diverse ethnic backgrounds. Despite its rich talent and cultural pool, Ajegunle lacks basic amenities such as housing, potable water, good medical facilities, good roads, and a drainage system, making life difficult for its inhabitants. With a population density of 750,000, Ajegunle is the highest of all slums in Lagos, and you might as well guess the effect of that. Residents have to navigate through traffic congestions, noise pollution, sanitation issues, and more. Although Ajegunle is surrounded by lagoons, the water is not suitable for use due to the contamination. Because of living in this area is relatively cheap, but it's certainly not advisable to live in this part of Lagos due to its many challenges. Moving to Iwaya, Otumara, a riverine community nested between Okoko and Bariga, still in Lagos and directly below the third mainland bridge. The community is divided into upper and lower classes, with the upper class consisting of indigenes while the lower class consisting of outsiders. With an estimated population of over 900,000 people, Iwaya inhabitants lack basic amenities such as good roads, drainage systems, power supply, healthcare, and schools. Although there are government schools in the area, they are not even affordable for the masses. I mean, you know, the situation is totally bad when people can't afford the government schools, which are meant to be cheap. Residents describe living in Iwaya as living in the ghetto with poor living conditions and high crime rates. Houses are constructed with wood on the surface of the water of Lagos Lagoon, and the environment is incredibly dirty and filled with waste, making it unfit for also the residents living there. The presence of resident sewage and refuse around homes causes diseases like malaria, cholera, and typhoid. At number 1, we have Makoko. Rounding off now, and still in Lagos, which is a state mixed with the combination of very rich and very poor communities, and one of such is Makoko. Makoko is one of, if not Lagos' largest slums, standing on stilts in the Lagos Lagoons. It is a community built entirely on water, home to over 250,000 residents. It seems as though no one knows how to maintain a life on the water, as Makoko faces constant challenges like flooding, poor sanitation, poor healthcare, poor education, and the list goes on and on. The community, founded in the 19th century by immigrants from the Egun ethnic group of Benin Republic, relies heavily on canoes and small boats for transportation. Many of the original residents of Makoko are fishermen who were attracted from across the region, hoping for a better life, and life in Makoko revolves basically around water. The rest of the settlement is on swampy land with little sanitation and few public services. So if you enjoyed the video, kindly hit the subscribe button and like, and click on the end screen on your left to watch the 10 most influential people in Nigeria.